In order to see how SQLI works, let's first learn how a MySQL query is used. So here we have UID and $password. The UID comes from the user ID from the text box, and the password goes into $pwd. This is a typical user authentication input box. So now when the user ID is myuser123, the $UID becomes myuser123, and the password is mypwd123, and then the $pw becomes mypwd123. Now what if instead of typing the user ID, a user types something like this? Now this becomes where UID equal to ends the quotes and puts 1 equal to 1. This means it's always successful. He's always authenticated. This is just an example. Now in WordPress, let's find out where MySQL query has been used. Let's search for it. Here we find 3 places. Let's look at wordbooker.php, search for MySQL query, and here it is. We again search in classsimplify.php, search again for MySQL query. Yes, and here we find it. Okay, what we see here is that they did not use any variables here. It's all constant, so there's nothing to worry about. Let's look at another place. Again, a lot of constants, and the string is already set. Now let's look at this one. Yes, there is a $SQL. The $SQL has a MySQL real escape string of prepared of 0. Now what does this MySQL real escape string do? Let's find out. Well, from the internet we can find out that it is escape special characters in an unescaped string so that the user cannot use quotes. Again, we find that out in WPDB where MySQL query is used. What do we see here? We see that MySQL query is used with a variable $query. Where does this come from? This is given to the function query. Now let's find out how this function query is accessed. Let's search for WPDB query since it was under the PHP WPDB. Okay, there are quite a few instances of this. Let's look at one of them. Let's look at user.php. Let's search for WPDB query where it's used under this PHP. What is found here is that every WPDB query is used with the WPDB prepare. What does this WPDB prepare do? Again, since it's under WPDB, let's go to wpdb.php and search for the function prepare here. Okay, here we are with the function. We see that this function passes all its arguments through another function escape by ref. Let's check that function out now and let's see what this does. Function escape by ref, find, yes, here it is. This is in turn passing it to _real_escape. Now what does that function do? _real_escape again passes it to MySQL real escape, which we just saw. So we know that if an ID any variable like $id is passed through wpdb prepare, all the codes and stuff are removed. But the danger is, we can see here that MySQL real escape string does not remove percentage and underscore, the ones which are used with like, grant or revoke. So let's search for places where the like is used. Okay, let's look at mssites.php. Let's search for like. Let's make it case sensitive because we know that's how it's used. Okay, what do we find here? Yes, there's a $like_s. Where does this variable $like_s come from? $like_s, it comes from another function esc_sql, and which has been passed from like escape. So we know that there is another function which escapes the like symbols. So the moral is, we need to make sure all like symbols are escaped.